last unit before winter break works on percentages. So in this first video, we're going to go over how to calculate things that are all based on a percentage, looking at these four main items. So that includes sales tax, tips, like at a restaurant, something called commission-based pay, and discounts. So you've seen a couple of percentage-based questions on your spiral homework before, such as this one from a few weeks ago. It says you got a 14 out of 15 on your quiz. What percent grade did you get? So for these questions, when you're trying to find the percentage, we've talked about how you would divide those. So you would take 14 divided by 15. Now that alone gives you a decimal. So to get a percentage, that's why you multiply by 100 at the end. So 14 divided by 15 times 100 would give you 93.33, and those threes are repeating. The questions we're going to be looking at today are different because we're going to be given the percentage already. So you've seen some questions like that, and I think you have one this week of something like this, where it says there are 24 students in class, 75% completed their homework early. How many students completed their homework early? And since we're not super familiar with these, there's always been a hint attached to these. And the hint says to take that percentage and change it to a decimal form. So 75% would be 0.75. What you're then able to do with that number is multiply it by that total amount. So in this problem, we would be taking 0.75 and multiplying it by 24. That's all we would have to do. We don't need to multiply it by 100 or anything like that. And this would give us 18. So if there's 24 students in the class, 18 students finished their homework early. So this is going to be more so of the type of calculations we're going to be doing today. So let's start by having these notes in front of you, and we're going to fill these out as you watch the video. So the very first thing at the top of this note page is talking about when you're finding the percentage of something, it's easiest to work with the percent as a decimal. And there are two ways to do this. So the first way that you can convert any percentage to its decimal form would be to divide it by 100. So that would be using your calculator and being able to do that. What dividing by 100 does is it moves your decimal 2 places to the left. So if you didn't want to use your calculator, kind of the more familiar you get with this, you might start preferring that way better. So dividing by 100 or moving the decimal 2 to the left would both get you the same answer. So we'll all do these three with you. The first one says 40%. So again, on your calculator, you could either do 40 divided by 100, or the decimal point would currently be right here. So I can move that 2 places to the left to get 0.4 or 0.40. Again, either one of those two options would give you the same thing. If we do that for 5%, if I move the decimal 2 places to the left or divide by 100, notice that I would have a gap there that I would need to fill in with a 0. So this would actually become 0.05 as its decimal form. And if you have really small percentages already, we still do this process. So if I wanted to convert 0.2%, I would divide by 100, or again, move it 2 to the left, does not matter. So this would be 0.002 as its decimal form. So up next, you're going to try these three. And again, either process, either dividing by 100 or moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So again, the type of calculations that we're going to be doing today are similar to this old spiral question, where that very first step is to take your percentage and move it to its decimal form. So that's why we just had to review that. After that, we then multiplied by the total amount. So again, we're looking at that percent as a decimal and then times the total. This is the same math that's used for things like sales tax, tips, and discounts. So let's fill out the rest of your notes looking at these type of examples. So the main thing here that we just went over is to calculate, you take that percent as a decimal, make sure you're writing this down, and you multiply it by that total amount. So let's do a couple examples. First off, sales tax. So anytime you're making a purchase on something, you have to pay a percentage of that of sales tax. And here in Columbus, sales tax is 7.5%. So this example says you went shopping at Target and had a subtotal of $143.30. In Columbus, sales tax is 0.75%. Calculate how much tax you would have to pay. So again, if we're kind of following this process that we just wrote right up here, very first thing we're going to do is change 7.5% into its decimal form. So again, you can either divide by 100 or move it 2 to the left. So that would become 0.075. That is that percentage as its decimal form. Then from there, we're going to multiply by the total. So I'm going to multiply that by the amount of items that I purchased, so that $143.30. So multiplying those two things together would give me how much tax would be added on to my total. So if we do that calculation, we get a pretty long answer. We get 10.7475. But if we think about it, this is money. So money, we would round to 2 decimal places. So since that third number is a 7, we would round up to get $10.75 of tax. So what's nice about this is we do that same process of percent as a decimal times the total, no matter what kind of specific example we're looking at. So tips when you're going out to eat and sitting at a restaurant work the same way. So this next example says you go out to eat for your birthday. The total is $84.28, and you want to leave the waiter a 20% tip. How much would the tip be? So again, if we kind of follow the same process from this first one, our first step would be to change this to its decimal form. So 20% would be 0.2 or 0.20, dividing by 100 or moving it left 2. Here, that total that we're going to multiply by is $84.28. So 0.2 times 84.28. And again, kind of like the first one, we get a round or a long answer that we're going to need to round. Originally 16.856. So money, looking at 2, this would round up to $16.86. So hopefully you can see the similarities between these two things. Percent as a decimal times the total. Up next, you're going to try this one. Here is a kind of receipt. Let's say our class went to the DK Diner and that they brought us this bill. So right here is your subtotal. That is what your tax is based off of. And in this example, we're going to use a 5% meal tax. So right now, I'd like you to grab your calculators and calculate how much tax we would have for our meal. So hopefully you got an answer of 7.1, which in money would be $7.10. So then our total comes from the subtotal plus the amount of tax. So you'd want to add those two things together. So go ahead and do that now to calculate your total. And hopefully you got $149.10. So the next one in the notes that you're filling out, you might be a little less familiar with. And later this week, we're going to look more into something called commission-based pay. The idea is, instead of having an hourly rate or a guaranteed yearly salary, commission is when you get paid based on a percentage of your sales. So this type of payment is only used in sales-based jobs. It wouldn't make sense for like a teacher to get paid on commission. I'm not selling anything. So in this example, it says a car salesman makes 2% of every sale. So again, instead of having like $20 an hour or over the course of the year a certain amount of money, instead they get a percentage of every sale. So in this example, it says 2% of every sale. If he sells a car worth $29,905, how much would he get paid? So again, if we kind of follow that process, we're taking that percent as a decimal and multiplying it by the total. So 2% as a decimal would be 0.02. We're going to multiply that by how much that car costs, so $29,905. So 2% of $29,905 would give us $598.1. So for money, we're going to add a 0 to that, and that's how much this salesman would get paid. And then sales and discounts are also based on percentages off. Sometimes you could have like a flat $5 off or $10 off, but a lot of times they do it as a percentage, like 10% off the total. We're going to be doing more with these later this week as well, but we'll take a look at discounts. So it says Apple is having a Black Friday sale of 15% off all iPads. If it originally is $479.99, how much is getting taken off for the sale? So we're trying to find 15% of that total price. So again, start off with percentage as a decimal. So this one would be 0.15 and multiplying it by the total. So if you multiply those, again, you kind of get a funky number, 71.9985. So this would round all the way up to $72. Now the trick with discounts is that $72 off. So it's not necessarily the price you're paying for the iPad, although that would be awesome. So kind of step 2 with this, that's how much is getting taken off. So your sale price would come from subtracting those two. So it would be the $479 that you're starting with minus the $72 that you're taking off. So if it followed up and said, how much is the iPad now cost? That answer would be $407.99. So hopefully all your notes are filled out. Once you finish watching this video, you're going to get a paper to practice this. The main idea and what I really want you to walk away with is once you have that percentage as a decimal, you multiply it by the total amount. So again, the main takeaway from here is first get your percent as a decimal and then multiply it by your total. After you finish this, the answer key is on Schoology, so please check yourself before class on Thursday.